Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to sunny Arizona as we sit here in late February. And I feel very blessed that I'm actually in a nice environment this year. Last couple of years in Oregon, not so pleasant this time of year. I remember being in an ice storm, stuck in my house for 3 days. And I grew up in the Northeast, so I'm familiar with all that. I've been fortunate enough to move to a warmer environment, and I like it to stay that way. But I could be moving again this year. Well, who knows? But I'm going to try to stay in the warm spots. But let me dig into the meat and potatoes of the video, because I know that's what you want. You're here. Your time is invaluable. You never get it back. I appreciate you spending some of it with me. I want to talk about real world assets and what that means, because there's a new category called real world assets, or RWAs, that's out there in blockchain. And I'm going to give an example, and then I'm going to give another example that's applicable to today, which I mentioned in another video that might be up here, maybe not. Depends on the platform, how I link it, but I just recently talked about putting Fort Knox and the gold on the blockchain, but that's a real world asset, and it's a great use case for putting it on the blockchain to a point. And this is where you need to understand, the more you study Bitcoin, the more you understand the subtle differences and why it's better than gold or other monetary assets. So I'm going to get into that real quickly. A real world asset, I'm going to take the Mona Lisa as a simple example. Mona Lisa, priceless. Only one person can have it. It's currently in the Louvre. They think that's the right version, but only one person can own it. But what if you tokenized it, okay? You went there to the Louvre and say, we're going to sell 1 million Mona Lisa coins. Like Mona, like $ Mona, okay? That's the new one. It'll probably be on Solana by the time this video is done. It's just way people to go. But you can buy a token of Mona Lisa. Not only that, but that token can appreciate in value. So now you've tokenized a real world asset and moved along and be able to monetize it and create distributed ownership. Now, other examples of this that happen in the real world, the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay Packers are a publicly owned professional sports team. I don't know how many shares there are, but everybody who owns a share can say that they're an owner. They get certain privileges for the team. But it's not that decentralized, because most of those people probably live within a couple hours drive of Green Bay, Wisconsin. So another example, let's see, another example. I talked about the Mona Lisa. The one that everyone's talking about now is tokenizing gold. Believe it or not, there are projects out there, I've talked to several of them, they're trying to tokenize gold and put gold in the blockchain. Here's where it falls apart. And someone made this, I had a good conversation on Twitter about this. Once you take a snapshot of your inventory, that snapshot can diverge from the actual inventory. Meaning, like, let's just say I've got 1 million ounces of water in this pool. I don't know what it is, but let's just say I do. You take a snapshot, you know how much volume is there, boom, it's done, we know. Now I could tokenize it, and I can get a cup of water and sell that on eBay and say, Jeff's pool water, unlimited supply. It's from this date, and this is the time where I emptied it. But you can buy this water, but there's only so much. That's the real world assets. So now, even though you put it in the blockchain, and we know exactly how many ounces of water were here on, February 24th, 2025, tomorrow it could be empty, right? Much like a reservoir in California. It was full of water once, but now it's empty. That's the problem with real world assets on the blockchain, because someone did the inventory, someone uploaded that data to the blockchain, but if the real world asset doesn't match the blockchain, that's where you get an inventory problem, you get a discrepancy. That's the problem. Bitcoin solves this because we know there's 21 million Bitcoin. We don't know, not all of them are released yet, but they will be released in time, every 10 minutes or so. We know how many get released every 10 minutes or so, and every 4 years that gets cut in half. There's about 20 million floating around the universe right now. They could be lost, they could be in a wallet, they could be anywhere. And I'll talk about that hack in a minute. I didn't even talk about that video, but I didn't even make that video too. But the point is, the real world assets are limited in scope, and they're limited because the inventory can diverge after you last did it. And that's pretty much the number one thing. So, like, just because you put something on the blockchain, the second one is that it's a real world asset is very often not decentralized. So back to the Mona Lisa. There's one copy. Wherever it is, that's where it is. And it cannot ever be decentralized, because there's one of them. Now, that same thing could be said about tokenizing a building, but ownership of that building can be spread around. But the location is still a location. Just like the gold in Fort Knox is still how much gold is in Fort Knox. People will learn about blockchain by trying to put real-world assets on the blockchain, but they're also going to learn the limitations. You still got to secure the original object. You still have to track and see what that inventory looks like. And you still need to make sure that that blockchain is immutable and can't roll it back or can't change things like they're trying to do on certain other projects. So that's some of the issues with real-world assets. And I like to say this, and I said this a couple times on Twitter already, the path to $1 million Bitcoin is not linear, okay? We're going to go to 100,000 and pull back, to 200,000 and pull back, to 300,000 and pull back. All these pullbacks will happen. Some will be larger than others, and those will probably be learning curve points for some of them as somebody corrupts a real-world asset. If they put on the blockchain and say there's 5,000 tons of gold in Fort Knox, and they do an audit the next year, and there's only 4,000, they're going to learn that the problem is not the blockchain, it was the updates of the blockchain. And that's why Bitcoin is better, because it is always updated, because the transactions and the settlement are the same thing. So those are my thoughts on that today. I will talk about that hack on the next video. Leave your thoughts down below. I would love to hear your thoughts about blockchain and real-world assets and Fort Knox. So leave a comment below, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.